Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Angelica and I'm with Love Letters to Milo. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to do detail work. Basically, I've been doing these detail leaves and on my Instagram, and I have a whole bunch of little tutorials, but I wanted to take the time to show you real time and every single step of the way. So I'm gonna start with 4 super simple steps. So first of all, you have to try out your brushes. You have to see which brushes work for you, which ones hold water, but mainly I have like a whole bunch of little brushes and I just kind of try them out and see like which one holds a point better, which one holds enough water for me to just keep working instead of just dipping and line, dipping and line. So just try out your brushes. That is the first thing you want to do. Second, you can grab a piece of like scrap paper. It doesn't necessarily have to be watercolor paper, but you want to try out your lines. You want to like warm up your hand, not a lot, like 1 minute, 30 seconds is fine. You just kind of like, you're trying to build muscle memory basically on your wrist. And you want to try how much pressure you put on your brush, how much you need to put pressure, all of those little things, but you can just like test it out for a good 30 seconds and that's enough. You just want to test out your own line work in a separate piece of paper. The third step is you want to try the consistency of your paint. You want to see how much water you want in your paint. Please, please, please remember the watercolor dries a lot lighter. So just try it out, let it dry, see if you need to add more pigment or if you need to add more water. So test that out, the consistency of the actual pigment. And then the last thing that I want you guys to keep in mind is when you're making your blob, it doesn't have to be anything perfect. It can just be very regular. But what you want to do is just pay attention. Eventually when it dries, you want to work with the actual shape of your blob. So if you have like a little kink, then you just draw a line following this natural shape of your blob. So just follow the same lines that you already created, and then it just gives it more naturalness, if that's a thing. So those were the 4 things that I wanted you guys to keep in mind. And so it's going to be super quick, super simple, and super fun. So let's get started. Okay, so starting with the materials, this one is Arches watercolor paper. That's what I usually use. 140 pounds and it's cold pressed, so it has texture. Then I am going to also use this Gensai Watercolors. This one's kind of like a turquoise color and this one's like an indigo. Then for brushes, I am going to be using this BettyHayway brushes because they have a very, they're synthetic and they have a very solid hair brushes. So they just like bounce really nicely and it gives me enough bounciness for the details that we're going to do. So I'm going to be using a number 5 and a number 1. So also we're going to be using just a colored pencil. You can use any kind of pencil. This one, I don't even know what the brand is, but so what we're going to do is just kind of sketch a rough idea. You might not even follow the lines perfectly, but it's just kind of like a rough idea of what we're going to paint. Kind of something like this. So very lightly, very loose. Now with clean water, just clean water, nothing special. I didn't add anything, it's just clean water. So we're just going to kind of follow the same lines, but if you go outside of the lines, it's even better because the watercolor we're covering did. So it's not gonna show. So I'm just adding tons of water. So I just need the water to just sit there on the paper. I don't want it to get absorbed too much, too fast. That's pretty much it. So just add water, see how it's very glossy. That's how you want to keep it. Very like wet, and see how like it just holds, the water just stays where, you know, where you put it. So that's how just like good watercolor paper works. Just add a little bit more water. And I'm just going to grab some indigo. And maybe in here. I'm not going to use a whole lot. I want my leaf to stay transparent as much as possible. So all I'm going to do is just let the ink travel. Kind of play around with it a little bit. Then I'm gonna add a little bit of that turquoise. Thing. I'm just gonna move it around, and I'm gonna let the ink sort of just travel a little bit. But I still want to keep, you know, the transparency, so I'm not gonna add any more pigment. And I would say I sort of made a mistake like right here when I was adding that ink, but I'm just gonna leave it like that, see what it looks like at the end when I start adding the details. So I'm going to leave this like this, and I'm not going to use a heat gun. I'm not going to use a hair dryer. Like, I'm just gonna let it sit there. It's going to dry eventually. And for me particularly, I don't like using like heat guns or anything because it just disperses the color strangely, in my opinion. So I just let it sit there, and I just go make some tea, or, you know, like start the laundry or something, and I just wait until it naturally dries. Like, it's just a little bit of patience. You don't have to like keep moving it around. You don't need to kind of control it in any way. Just let it do its magical thing. So it's really simple. Just a little bit of ink and let it sit. And so once it's dry, I'll show you guys in the next step how to add the details. Okay, so now it's completely dry and we can start working on the details. For that, I'm going to show you guys a really close angle, but I'm going to be using the BettyHayway's, BettyHayway's #1. It has a very sturdy tip, and I really like it, and it's very fine and it stays like that, and so this is the one that I'm going to choose to use. But you can use any brush with like a pointy tip. So I'm going to be using the indigo, and I'm going to just start detailing. So I'll put the camera a little closer and I'll show you guys how I do it. Okay, so by the shape of this leaf, say, I know that it starts somewhere here and it ends somewhere there. So I'm just gonna like draw like, cause the leaf is kind of like bent a little bit. So naturally, like see how it like bends from the stem. So naturally it's gonna wanna follow that line. So I'm just gonna try to do that as like steady as possible. And hopefully it'll be okay. Okay, so first line's in. It's always terrifying. But so now the second thing that I look at is the little bumps. So I know that there's going to be a curve that comes in like this, and then there's going to be another one that comes in kind of like this. And then here I'm gonna like bring this little curve, and I'm gonna bring it in like this. So I just sort of like imagine where I'm gonna put the lines, and then I'm just take a deep breath and go for it. Okay, so now that I have my main kind of lines, I'm just gonna go and like start adding the small details. Something I want you guys to keep in mind is that the paper, I rotate it a lot. Like, I just have to see which way my hands feel more comfortable drawing these lines, and like it's easier for me to draw upwards than to draw downwards. So I just keep, if I were to keep my paper like this and my hand was in a weird position, then that's just not gonna work. So I just keep rotating my paper. That I want also to mention is that I don't line every single part of the leaf. I leave some spaces in between because I want the watercolor under it to seem like still transparent, and you can still see the variations in color between like here the indigo or here the turquoise. I don't line like the entire leaf. I leave some spaces. Okay, that is all. I'm just going to leave it like that. I think it looks cute. It has enough variety. Like it has this little cake here, it has this little mistake here or whatever. And so it's really easy, really simple, just takes a little bit of patience, but I hope you guys liked it. Don't forget to subscribe and don't forget to follow me on Instagram, where I show you guys all kinds of tutorials, small, like short, but you know, whenever you guys want to see a full tutorial on my YouTube, then let me know either through Instagram comments or YouTube comments. Like I try to get back to you guys as soon as I can. And so I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in the next video.